Hello, and welcome to the Wanskuck Weekly Storytime. I'm Abby, the Youth Services Librarian here at the Wanskuck Library, and this week we'll be reading Can You Hear the Sea by Judy Cumberbatch. Can you hear the sea? Can you hear the sea? On Saturday, Sarah's grandpa went into town. Before he left, he gave Sarah a shell. Pink and orange and green, it was the loveliest shell she had ever seen. It's a magic shell, said Grandpa. If you listen carefully, you'll hear the sea. Will I really? Asked Sarah. Oh, yes, said Grandpa. Don't go believing all that nonsense, said Grandma as she braided Sarah's hair. But Sarah didn't listen to her. Grandpa knew about everything. He could tell the time by the sun, knew when the rains would come, and never ever told a lie. On Sunday, Sarah put the shell to her ear and listened on the way to church. But all she heard was Reverend Johnson praying, Kofi playing the drums and singing, and Grandma humming. On Monday, Sarah listened to her shell by the river as she and Grandma did the washing. But what she heard was water splashing, Grandma beating out the sheets, and the clothes flip-flapping in the wind. On Tuesday, Sarah and Grandma went to the market. Sarah listened to her shell as she walked between the stalls, but what she heard was Mr. Victor's sewing machine click-clacking, Mrs. Nancy's tongue yak-yakking, and the market mammies haggling all day long. On Wednesday, Sarah listened to the shell as she walked with Grandma to the farm, but what she heard was monkeys chattering, banana trees swish-swishing, and mangoes plopping, but not the sound of the sea. Perhaps Grandpa got it wrong, she said sadly. On Thursday, Grandma turned the whole house upside down, and Sarah was busy with the sweeping and the cleaning. When Sarah listened to the shell in the evening, all she heard was plantain sizzling, pepper stew sputtering, and Grandma snoring. On Friday, Sarah went to meet Grandpa. The taxis tooted, water sellers shouted, buses hooted, and Grandpa came. That's some silly shells, she told him. I've listened and heard everything but the sea. On Saturday, Grandpa and Sarah sat out under the mango tree. Sarah held the shell to her ear. Tell me what you hear, Grandpa said. Sarah listened. Boys playing soccer, she said. Listen, said Grandpa. The next door neighbor's baby screaming, cried Sarah. I can't hear the sea. Quiet, said Grandpa. Now close your eyes, and this time listen to what the shell tells. Sarah put the shell to her ear, closed her eyes, and listened. At first, all she could hear was Grandpa's breathing. Then, as she listened, louder and louder, came the sound of water crashing, waves pounding, pebbles rattling, surf hissing, and the sea's huge roar on the wide seashore. I can hear it, Sarah said. I can hear the sea. Didn't I tell you, said Grandpa, smiling. The end. In the book, Sarah is trying to listen for the sea in the seashell. For our craft this week, we are going to make our own seashells. So that way, even if you can't make it to the beach, you can still have a seashell of your own. All you'll need is a paper plate, something to decorate it with. I'm going to use crayons, but you could use paint, colored pencils, markers, anything you'd like. some string. I chose a nice dark purple. You could also do blue, black, white, any color you'd like. Some scissors. Of course, make sure if you're younger, you're using it with an adult's help. And a hole punch, which I would say you also probably would want some adult's help if you are a little bit younger. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to cut the paper plate into more of a clam shape so that it looks more like a shell rather than as it is now, which is just a plate. I will come back when that is done. Okay, and as you can see, I've kind of cut off the sides and made it more into a shell shape rather than a plate. Next, I'm going to take our crayons and I'm going to pick out a couple of colors and I'm just going to color in our plate so that it is a nice colored in shell. Okay, as you can see, I've colored in my clam shell. So it has that kind of maroon background, the purple stripes, and then some blue and pink polka dots. The next thing we're going to do, and this is with an adult supervision, we're going to take our hole punch and we're going to punch some holes along the bottom and along the top. We want to make sure we punch the same amount of holes at the bottom as we do at the top. The ones at the bottom are going to be a little closer together, and the ones at the top will be a little further apart. I decided to use a star hole punch just to make the holes a little bit more fun. As you can see, I've got 5 holes along the bottom and 5 holes along the top. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get our string. And I'm going to try to unspool just about as much as we need. Although you can always leave it on the spool and cut the string at the end rather than at the beginning. So you don't have to worry about having not enough or too much. And now that I've got my string cut, I'm going to tie a knot right here at the end so that it doesn't go through the hole. I might double knot it just to make sure it's nice and thick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it from behind right through that first hole. And we're going to pull it all the way through. And then we're going to pull it through the hole at the top. Now that we've got it through our first hole, we're going to come right over here, pull it back through. And then back down to the hole at the bottom. And you're going to continue this all the way through. And you're going to continue this for each of the holes. Oh, I'm filming a Storytime video. Okay, and now that we've got it threaded through, you can see that thread makes a nice clamshell look, where it's got that kind of nice shell pattern across the back. So we're going to do at the back, we're going to make a nice knot and make sure it's nice and tight so that our so that our string doesn't come loose. And for younger friends, this is a great way to practice working on our knots. And then once it's nice and secure, we have a little bit of extra string, so we'll trim it right there. And there we have our finished shell. And you can be as creative with this as you like. You can add stickers, you can go back and add stuff later. You can make a bigger shell, a smaller shell, whatever you like. You can also use a different shape, or you could use more holes and more string, anything you'd like. I hope you enjoyed our craft this week. Join us next week when we will read Otis by Lauren Long. Thanks, bye!